And again, so good to be with you all here this morning. You know, for the past more than 15 years, I've had the blessing of serving as Archbishop of Mobile. Before that, I served as Bishop of the Diocese of Biloxi. And as Bishop, during those years that I served in Mississippi, one day we experienced a devastating hurricane. The destruction was catastrophic. It would be difficult to describe how that hurricane destroyed so much. Entire communities were just wiped away. After the storm, many people not only their homes were destroyed, but not only did they know their homes were destroyed, they couldn't find where their home used to be. It was that type of catastrophic destruction. It was just an expanse of debris. You couldn't tell where the streets had been. There were no landmarks. One of our churches, we couldn't find where it used to be. Anyhow, people lost loved ones. Over 200 people were killed. People lost their homes. People lost their jobs. When your place of business is destroyed, you don't have a job. And I was speaking with a man who had lost his home, lost his job. And he was telling me what he was going through, all his struggles. And he said this to me. He says, I don't know how I could be handling all this if it wasn't for my teenage son. He is being such a source of encouragement and strength for me and for the whole family. When we feel that we can't go on anymore, we just can't cope anymore, he is the one who gives us strength. When we feel like just breaking down and crying, he's the one who's there to encourage us. He said, I never knew my son had it in him. He said, I think adversity really builds character. And when he said that, I said to him, well, that may be true, that adversity builds character. But I said, I think it's more correct to say adversity reveals character. So your son's character didn't come about because he went through 6 hours of a hurricane. Your son has been building his character through the years because of the education, the formation you and your wife have been giving him, because of the example you've been giving him, and because of his own efforts. He's been building his character. He had it in him before the hurricane. You just didn't see it. And I think there's a message there for each one of us. Every day, we are building the person that we are. Every day, little by little, we are forming ourselves. And this is a message for us all the time, but particularly on this Feast of All Saints. What are we building ourselves to be? Because one day we will stand before God and give an accounting of the person we have formed ourselves to be. And there's only two options. Either we will go to hell or we will go to heaven. There's nothing else. Either we will become a saint or we will have damnation. So who are we building ourselves to be? Every day. In all the little, ordinary, everyday events of our life. Now that young man, that the man was talking about, his son, was building himself in all the little events of the day to become the outstanding young man he was. And the same is true of us. You know, there's a saying, practice makes perfect. Well, there's some truth to that. Although I don't know, again, that it's totally correct to say practice makes perfect. I've practiced at a lot of things. I've never become perfect. But I'll say this, practice makes permanent. The more we practice something, the more it becomes a part of us. The more we can do it, better and better. Whether we ever become perfect is another thing. But practice makes something become a part of us. And the same is true in our character. The more we strive each day, in all the little events of the day, to be patient, the more we become a patient person. The more in all the little everyday events of life that we forgive people who may do something, the more forgiving of a person we become. In all the little events of the day, the more that we're willing to share, the more generous we become. The more every day that we seek to be strong when things are going wrong in our life. And each one of us, every day, something's going to go wrong. And instead of griping or complaining, that we learn how to handle disappointments, struggles, the stronger of a person we become. The more we encourage people around us, in our families, in our classrooms, circles of friends, the more of an encouraging person we become. The more that we take a moment each day and pray, the more prayer becomes a part of us. And the list could go on. In the ordinary, everyday events of life, we're building ourselves. You know, if I would show you right now a brick, it would look like, well, that's not much. But if we put enough bricks together, we build a building. And the ordinary, everyday events of each day may not look like much. But every day, we're building ourselves. You know, the person that we wake up as in the morning will not be the person we will be when we go to sleep that night. Each day changes us for the better or for the worse. That's our choice. But each day we are forming ourselves into the person that we are. And the person that one day will stand before God, hopefully to be admitted into the company of the saints. Let's stand and profess our faith.